Now let us understand the Newton's third law of motion. The third law of motion states that to every action there is always equal and opposite reaction. Here focus on the term equal and opposite. The very common day-to-day life example of action reaction is when we try to walk on earth or on ground, we try to push the ground in backward direction, so the ground will push us in forward direction. So due to this action reaction, we are able to move on the ground. In this case, the action is applied by us on the ground and the reaction is applied by ground on us. So action is acting on ground and reaction is acting on us. So the important point is action and reaction, they always act on two different bodies, and as they act on two different bodies, they do not cancel out each other. Usually people misunderstood this. If we take an object, there are two forces acting on it, 5 Newton in this direction and 5 Newton in opposite direction. These two have equal magnitude and opposite direction. They will cancel out each other and this body will be in equilibrium. But these two forces do not form action reaction pair because they are acting on same object. So action reaction pair should always act on two different bodies, and that's why they do not cancel out each other. Let us see the example of weight and normal reaction. An object of some mass m is kept on a table. The gravitational force acting on the object will be in downward direction, that is mg, and the normal reaction acting on the object is in upward direction, and the magnitude of normal reaction in this case will also be mg. Here these two forces are acting in opposite direction and they have same magnitude, but they do not form action reaction pair because weight is the gravitational force applied by earth on the object and normal reaction is the force applied by table on the object. So basically these two forces are acting on same object, so they do not form action reaction pair. So the condition to form action reaction pair is they must act on two different bodies. Now there are four basic conservation laws in nature, that is conservation of linear momentum, conservation of angular momentum, conservation of charge, and conservation of energy. Let us see conservation of linear momentum based on the Newton's third law of motion. To understand this, we are taking one situation. There are two objects having mass m1 and m2 in an isolated system. The isolated system means the net external force on the system is 0. That is called mechanically isolated system. So the two objects are situated in mechanically isolated system. Initially they are moving in same direction with speed u1 and u2. It is given that u1 is greater than u2 and they are moving in same straight direction. So as the velocity of mass 1 is more than mass 2, there will be a collision between m1 and m2. So this is the situation during the collision. Now when the m1 collides with m2, the m1 will apply force on m2 in forward direction. As part of the reaction, the M2 will also apply some force on M1. The force acting on M1 and M2 will have equal magnitude and opposite direction as per the Newton's third law of motion. They are action reaction pairs. F1 is acting on M1 and F2 is acting on M2. Now, after some time, they get separated and they are moving, let's say, with velocity v1 and v2. Here, the direction of velocity are assumed to be same as initial velocity. But if we get the negative sign after solving, then our assumed direction are wrong and they will move in the opposite direction of assumed direction. So the statement of conservation of linear momentum is, for mechanically isolated system, the linear momentum is always conserved. That means initial linear momentum of the system is equals to final linear momentum of the system. Remember here, the momentum of system is conserved and not the momentum of individual objects. Only momentum of whole system is conserved. The initial momentum of the system can be written by the algebraic sum of individual momentum of objects. So in this case, P initial will be m1 u1 plus m2 u2. P final will be m1 v1 plus m2 v2. Now, during collision, two forces are acting on the object. They are action reaction, so they'll have equal magnitude and opposite direction. So we can write F2 is equals to minus F1 because we have taken this direction as positive and opposite direction as negative. So F2 will be positive and F1 will be negative. F2 is the force acting on M2. Force can be written as mass into acceleration. So F2 will be m2 into a2 and acceleration is v minus u upon t. So m2 into final velocity v2 minus initial velocity u2 upon time. That is equals to m1 into v1 minus u1 upon time. The time for which force is acting on m2 is the same time for which force is acting on m1. So this t will get cancelled out. Simplifying this, we will get m2v2 plus m1v1 is equals to m1u1 plus m2u2. But this is the final momentum of the system and this is the initial momentum of the system. So with the help of Newton's third law of motion, we have proved that final momentum of the isolated system is equal to initial momentum of system. This is called conservation of linear momentum. Now let us see some practical application of Newton's third law of motion, that also includes the application of conservation of linear momentum. The first application is recoil velocity of gun. Whenever we fire a bullet from the gun, the bullet moves in forward direction and the gun moves in the backward direction. We experience a jerk while firing a bullet. The velocity of gun with which it moves in backward direction is called recoil velocity of gun. Let's say mb is mass of bullet, mg is mass of gun. Initially the bullet is inside the gun, so initially the bullet and gun both are at rest, so that initial velocity will be 0. Now after firing the bullet, let's say vb is the velocity of bullet and vg is the velocity of gun. There is no external force acting on the gun. The bullet is fired due to internal mechanism inside the gun, so net external force is 0. So we can apply the conservation of linear momentum, that is P final is equals to P initial. The final momentum of the system is equals to individual momentum of gun and bullet that is mbvb, that is momentum of bullet, and mgvg, that is momentum of gun, is equals to mbub plus mgug. But initial velocity of both gun and bullet are 0, so initial linear momentum of the system will be 0. From this we can find the recoil velocity of gun, that is equals to minus of mb upon mg into vb. Here the minus sign shows that gun moves in the opposite direction to that of bullet. That means bullet and gun are moving in opposite direction. So this is the formula for recoil velocity of gun. While solving the problems on recoil velocity of gun, keep this thing in mind. Usually the mass of bullet is given in gram and mass of gun is given in kg. So always convert gram into kg so that you will get the correct answer. The second application of Newton's third law of motion is rocket propulsion. In the second law, we have said that it is not necessary that always velocity is changing. It is possible to have a variable mass. So we had defined the force also as equals to V is equals to dm by dt. The rocket propulsion is the case of variable mass because as the rocket moves upwards, the fuel inside the rocket burns. So due to that, the mass of rocket gets decreased. Here, the exhaust gas apply force on downward direction on the earth. Due to that force applied on earth, the earth will apply the upward thrust on the rocket, due to which the rocket will move. So in this case, the action is applied on earth and due to its reaction, the rocket is moving in upward direction. Now we want to find the acceleration of this rocket. Let's say m0 is the mass of rocket with its fuel at time t is equals to 0. That is, initially the total mass of rocket plus fuel is m0. Now at any instant time t, the mass of rocket is m. Because gradually the fuel is burned, so mass will decrease. So at any time instant t, the mass is capital M. So this capital M is the instantaneous mass of rocket. R is the constant rate of ejection of gases, that is, we can say the constant rate of burning the fuels or burning the fuels, that is minus dm by dt. Here negative sign shows that mass is decreasing with respect to time. Vr is the speed of gases relative to the rocket. In this case, the Vr will be constant and mass will be decreasing. Now, the upward thrust on the rocket is equals to rate of change of momentum as per the second law. In this case, mass is changing and velocity is constant. So, thrust can be written as minus dm by dt into Vr. But minus dm by dt is equals to r. So, we can write it r into Vr. In this case, we have neglected the effect of gravity. The acceleration is given by force upon mass. So instantaneous acceleration is force is rvr divided by mass at that instant, that is rvr upon m. But this acceleration is while we have neglected the gravity. If we include the gravity, the acceleration is in upward direction and gravitational acceleration is in downward direction. So if we include the Earth's gravity, the acceleration will be RVR upon m minus g. Here m is the instantaneous mass of rocket. The initial mass is m0. The fuel is burning at the rate r. So in time t, the total mass burned will be equal to r into t. This RT is equal to total fuel burn. So at that instant, the mass will be initial mass minus the fuel that has burnt, that is equals to m0 minus RT. So A is equal to RVR upon m0 minus RT minus G. This is the acceleration of rocket including effect of gravity. Now, after learning about Newton's 3 laws of motion, let us learn about some different types of forces which will be useful for our problem solving. The first force is weight. Weight is the gravitational force on any object. It is always directed towards the center of earth. Remember, it is directed towards the center of earth and not towards the surface of earth. The weight is equals to m into g. Here g is the gravitational acceleration. The weight will be different on different planets. For example, weight on moon is 1/6 of weight on earth. The second force is normal reaction. As we have seen, the normal reaction is the force acting on the object and applied by the surface. The normal force acts perpendicular to the surfaces. They are always perpendicular to the surface and object. The third force is string tension force. Now, whenever object is tied to a taut string, a pulling force acts on the object along the string. This force is called tension force. Let's say there is one string and one object of mass m is tied with it. On this object, in the downward direction, the gravitational force mg is applied. This string is not breaking. That means the particles of string are applying some force on each other to balance this mg force so that the contact between them is maintained and string does not break. So the force applied by the particles of string on each other is called tension force. The tension force always acts away from the object. This is because you can always pull the object with the help of string, but you can never push the object with the help of string. So the tension force always acts away from the object. The fourth case is the spring tension. Whenever an object is connected with a spring, let's say the mass of the object is m, it is connected with a spring. In the downward direction, the gravitational force mg is acting. Again, this spring is not breaking. That's why there must be some force acting on the spring. That force is called spring force. The spring force is given by F is equals to kx. Here k is the spring constant and x is the elongation in the spring. The unit of spring constant will be Newton per meter. In this case, here on the object, two springs are connected. So the tension force in this springs can be written by T1 and T2, that is x1 K1 and x2 K2. K1 and K2 are the spring constant of these two springs, and x1 and x2 are the elongation in this spring. Now the fifth force is the spring compression. In this case, an object is placed on the top of a spring. The gravitational force will act on this object in downward direction, mg. Due to this gravitational force, there will be some compression in the spring, that is x. So the upward pushing force will act on the object by the spring, that is equals to kx, to balance this force mg. The sixth force is friction force. The friction force is a force that whenever object or a surface has a tendency of relative motion with respect to another surface, a shearing force acts on it in the opposite direction to the relative motion. This force is called frictional force. Let's say this object is kept on this object, on the surface. If this surface or object tries to move in this direction, then a shearing force always acts along the surface, will act on the opposite direction of motion, that is called frictional force. We will understand this frictional force in detail at the end of the chapter. Now, apart from the forces listed before, we will come across some more contact and non-contact forces in the future chapters. The contact forces are viscous drag, that is the frictional force applied by the fluid on the object. The buoyant force or the pressure forces, that is the force applied by fluid on object in the upward direction. The non-contact force are magnetic force and electrical force, that we will study in 12th class. And the nuclear forces, that are the forces they act on inside the nucleus, that are strong nuclear force and weak nuclear force. Now let us understand the free body diagram. A free body diagram is a method of understanding a complex mechanism by reducing it into simple blocks. In the free body diagram, we will replace the whole system with the combination of different objects, and we will show all the forces acting on individual object and then find the acceleration or effect of that force. The steps for drawing the free body diagram is, the first step is, as the name suggests, free the body. That means we have to remove all the contacting surfaces and ropes connected to the body, but remember where they are attached. Now after removing them, show the contact forces. The forces should be shown exactly as they are appearing in the system. For example, in any object, in any system on an object, two forces are acting in opposite direction. One is 6 Newton and one is 3 Newton. So while drawing the free body diagram, we should not draw the resultant force 3 Newton. This is not correct. We have to show the forces exactly as they are acting on the object in the system, and then show the non-contact forces. Remember, the tension force always acts away from the object. Now let us see one example. An object of mass m is kept on the surface. So to draw the free body diagram, we have removed the surface and we will show all the forces acting on the object. In the downward direction, gravitational force is acting, and the force applied by the surface is in upward direction, that is normal reaction. Show all the forces with proper arrow. Now, in the second example, there is one object of mass capital M resting on the surface and another object of mass small m is attached to one of its corner. First, we will free these two bodies. So we are taking these two bodies separately. The free body diagram of capital M. First force acting on it is gravitational force mg in the downward direction. Second is normal reaction applied by the surface, and this small m mass block will also apply some force in this direction along the corner. So the force applied by this force is called normal reaction because this is acting between the surfaces. So it is the normal reaction of mass small m. Now we will draw the free body diagram of this object. We have kept it as it is. In the exactly downward direction, the gravitational force will act, that is mg. The normal reaction will act at this corner, that is equals to nm. The normal reaction on the small object by the surface, and the capital M mass object will also apply some normal reaction. So this is the normal reaction applied by capital mass M object. So this is the free body diagram of these two objects. Now let us draw the free body diagram of an object kept on inclined plane of inclination theta. This is called wedge. The mass of wedge is m and the mass of block is capital M. First, we will draw the free body diagram of this wedge. Its mass is m. So in the downward direction, gravitational force mg will apply. It is kept on a ground. So the normal reaction will act in the upward direction, that is n capital M. Here this is the total system of m plus m. So on the ground, total mass capital M plus small m is acting force. So the normal reaction at the base will be equal to m plus m into g. This object or this block will also apply some force in this direction. This force, let's say n m, force applied by this object. This is the free body diagram of the wedge. Now let us draw the free body diagram of this block. For the reference of this inclined plane, we are writing all the forces on this plane only. Here the actual forces acting on the blocks are the gravitational force in the downward direction, that is mg, and the normal reaction. Normal reaction is always perpendicular to the surface, that is n. Now we can divide this gravitational force in two perpendicular components. One is along the surface and another is perpendicular to the surface, because this object has the tendency to move along the surface. So we will divide this vertical into two mutually perpendicular components. So one is along the surface in this direction and one will be perpendicular to the surface in this direction. If this angle with horizontal is theta, then this angle with vertical will also be theta, because this will be 90 degree, this will be 90 minus theta, so this angle will be theta. So this component will be mg cos theta, and this component will be mg sine theta. So here the normal reaction is balanced by mg cos theta, so we can write n is equals to mg cos theta, and the component of the gravitational force responsible for the motion is mg sine theta. For now we have assumed that this surface is smooth. So for the future reference, just remember the normal component is mg cos theta and the along plane component is mg sine theta.